All right, students. What we're doing today is we're beginning to create what's called a block printing project. What a block print is basically a plate that we create, we ink, and then we put paper on that hasn't been marked, apply pressure, and release the plate. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to stop and see a video about how to create a foam block printing plate. So the basic rules are that you need to draw an object using stroke and add motion and add pattern. So that is, you're going to use something called stroke. That's the first thing. What is stroke? What does motion mean? And what does a pattern mean? How are we using that? First of all, what is a stroke? Here's an example of an image using stroke, not tone. You can see how the man and the lion are used with lines that are drawn in order to show the darkness. The second image, the ball, is a image using tone, not stroke. So that is, they use shadows that are created with the side of the pencil. So it looks like a shape instead of just a line. And that's not what we want for this project. We want to use the stroke. So here again you can see a couple of differences along the way where the lines for the clouds are used straight lines in order to show darkness, whereas for the base of the ball you can see you don't see the lines per se, you just see darkness for a certain shape or lightness in a certain shape. So the second part, what is motion? Motion means that something looks like it's moving. And this is where you're going to add very specifically to your object, whatever it is that whatever is the object you choose. So here are a couple of ways to show motion with a still object. One is to swing the camera. You can swing the object, trace light lines around it, show motion around it. You can show something falling. Here you see examples of cars to start, and either the car moving or the background moving, which is dependent on the camera. There's light lines in these two cars where you can see light around it, and then with the Tron mobile they use a combination of light lines, etc. You can also see something falling, for example the powder that's in these two images, or somebody's hair falling. Or you can see the person falling. A person can't hold the stance for more than just a millisecond or two. Or this one where the person is actually in motion falling, but they're jumping at the same time. Or you can see someone who is being drawn, or is drawn in a couple of different ways in which they wouldn't have been otherwise, meaning you can see them drawn and then drawn again and drawn again in order to be able to show motion along the way. Here you have a balloon popping, and then you have a fox that's jumping up that's just made of lines. The image of a person in two different time frames, and then finally you have honey or date syrup that's literally dropping out of the sky. And the thing to know about this is that if it's dropping like this, it's showing motion. It's showing something that's moving from one area to another. And that's the main goal that you're going to have for your object. Whether it's a still piece or whether it's a car or something else that's naturally in motion. Finally, what about pattern? What do we do with pattern? The pattern should be a series of similar marks or repeated shapes. But it should also help whatever it is that you're looking at. So notice here you have thumbnail drawings like I'm asking you to create, and they're just designs that happen ahead of time. Those designs help the artist to be able to understand about what to do, especially as they get towards the finish. Now, as we look at this specific image, what do you think that it is designed to be able to show about? What's the subject matter that they would be about? The idea is that you want to be able to create something, a pattern, that is helpful to the item that you're trying to put in. So for example, we have a pattern around this fish. And you've seen the fish already. It's the same example that someone else had used before. What kind of pattern would be helpful for this fish image? Now, it's something to remember that whatever you draw is going to be flipped. And so I want to give you an example of what that means. Whatever you draw dark on your board is going to be light because we're using black ink on white paper. So for example, when you look at this, you see the fish, and the fish is spelled backwards. And then you can see as the artist is starting to put in the background where the underside the head on the bottom photo, you can see that it's the part that's going to be light underneath the head. Remember, your piece is just going to be black and white, so you're going to use lines or stroke in order to create value or the darkness. The rules, what you need to pay attention to at this point. You want to find an object that you desire, that you want to draw. And you're going to show motion through that object in any of the ways that we showed already. You can always come back to this video and see it again in order to find out what it is that you could do with motion. Or you could create your own way to show motion. Lastly, you'll add a pattern to the background. We're going to start with the thumbnail, and then we're going to go to the final drawing, and then finally we'll end up actually making prints.